them all in one place in case you do get a power outage.
Oh, yeah.
I start, like, collecting all the blankets and, like, sweatshirts because I'm like, oh, we may have to layer up, you know?
You're just hoping something happens so you can use all your gear you got prepped.
Right, so I'm just thinking, okay, that's probably the scene that's unfolded is maybe they've gathered up some things, they're eating a snack, they're just kind of riding out the storm to see what happens. Around 10:20, maybe 10:30, the Durham son-in-law, a guy named Troy Hall, gets a phone call. It was Virginia Durham. She said there were 3 black men beating up Bryce and Bobby Joe.
Okay.
The call was then, like, abruptly cut off. At the time, Troy Hall said he thought that she was joking, told his wife, Jenny, who happens to be the Durham's daughter, what had happened. And I'm like, so is that some sort of knee slapper? Like, help, we're being attacked by 3 men of color. And then like, hang up the phone? Is that, like, he thinks it's a joke? I don't understand.
Yeah.
What humor is in that.
Maybe the week before.
And that's a really weird prank. Like, if it was a prank, I don't see how that would be funny.
Well, maybe that's the inside joke. And the week before, she was like, called and was like, help, there's 5 Oriental guys stabbing my mom in the neck.
Did you really
call
say
you next
Oriental?
Well, she would back
right,
back
I know
then.
what you're saying.
I wouldn't. But yeah, maybe
or maybe like the week before she called and been like, oh no, get over here. Bobby Joe's being anally probed by some aliens.
Maybe that's just their type of humor.
Yeah, I don't know. Troy Hall and the Durham's daughter, Jenny, they were newlyweds, and they rented a trailer about 4 miles away from the Durham home. The couple was both enrolled at Appalachian State University, so they were both students. Now, earlier in the evening, Troy had been at the Appalachian State University library studying and catching up on some homework. He had arrived home around 10 p.m. He said the Olympics were on television. He and Jenny watched maybe 10 minutes or so of the games on TV. Because, you know, back then, I mean, now people still watch the Olympics, but during this time, this is when, like, everybody's glued to their television set watching the Olympic games.
Well, there's limited entertainment, like you pointed out.
It was a big deal, right?
Yeah, huge deal.
So they're watching the game, and then the cable went out. Because you got to remember, it's a big storm. Cable goes out, they put on a record, and they're listening to some music, and then that's when the phone call comes in and Troy answers the phone. He tried to call back to the house, but the line was busy. Freaked out, the couple decides to get in their vehicle to drive over to the Durham house to see what's going on.
In the storm.
To check on everybody, yeah.
Okay.
Well, their car wouldn't start. They asked a neighbor named Cecil Small to drive them over to the parents' house. Took them about 20 minutes to get there. Again, it's only about 4 miles away, but it's a bad storm. Took them, about 25 minutes to get over there. So a little slower than usual, which we'll get to this, but this is all just kind of strange to me. Well, Jenny waited in the car while her husband and Cecil Small, who, by the way, had worked as a private investigator.
How did I know with a name like that?
And I guess he was like the manager of the trailer park where they lived.
Okay.
And it was kind of, friends with them or whatever, a little bit older than they were. They walked up the hill to the house because apparently they couldn't get Cecil's car up that steep drive. So they kind of parked at the bottom, walk up to the house. And the home was a split level. The men approached the house to find all the lights on inside. The doors are locked, can't get in, but they were able to gain entry into the home by sliding under a malfunctioning garage door.
Okay, so like it didn't go all the way down?
Open. So one of them kind of slid under there. They get in the house. Now, when they walk in the home, they see it's been ransacked.
So it's just a mess.
Described as usually tidy and just completely immaculate. Like, apparently Virginia was quite the housekeeper, and this house was like, everything is in its place. Super clean, tidy home. And the place was just a mess. The phone was ripped out of the wall. Pictures were torn down off the walls. Sheets were ripped up from the beds. Drawers ripped out of dressers and chests and bureaus. Just shit everywhere.
Well, yeah, that in itself is disturbing. When you come into some places typically, or just even if a place is cluttered, would you come in and it's destroyed?
Well, you can tell when there's been like a struggle of some kind.
Yeah, and that's really scary. That would disturb me.
While they're kind of investigating this scene of like, holy shit, what's happened here? It's like a tornado came through and just ripped up this house. They could hear the sound of water running. When the two men went to find out like where the water was coming from, they stumbled upon an even worse, horrific scene in the downstairs bedroom or bathroom. I love the look on your face.
Well, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
I feel like we need to cue the dun 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 dun.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Okay, I'm ready for sound effects, Dylan. Virginia Durham died of strangulation. Her husband and son had been strangled and drowned. A cord was tied loosely around Bryce's neck. And this is the thing. The bodies were all across the lip of the bathtub.
What the
like
hell?
Like 1, 2, 3, over the lip of the tub. The water was starting to overflow, and there was some kind of overflow drain.
Yeah.
So the water wasn't actually like splashing, out or anything onto the floor. The floor's completely dry, but that water's, doing its thing. Yeah. And these 3 bodies, their heads are all 3 in the bathtub.
Yeah, I can picture what type of bathtub that is.
The 2 men ran out of the house, went to a neighbor's to call police. Now, when the police arrive, they, basically find the same scene in the house.
So they're all perched up on this tub. It's full of water, but not coming all the way out. And it's 4 people?
3 people.
3 people?
Virginia, Bryce, the husband, the patriarch, and then their son, Bobby Joe.
My God, could you imagine finding that scene?
The 4-wheel drive Jimmy that they had borrowed from the dealership was found abandoned about a mile away on Poplar Grove Road with the lights on. The windshield wipers were running, the doors were closed, and the motor was still running. Now, inside the vehicle, police find a pillowcase with silverware inside.
Okay.
But that's all they find. The vehicle was parked as if it was meant to be discovered. Investigators noted there were no skid marks or signs that the truck had been sliding, like on this road.
Right.
It was as if someone had just decided to stop, kind of pull over a little bit, leave it where it was, but leave it running.
Well, yeah, they weren't trying to hide that at all.
The Durhams had taken home a bank deposit bag from the dealership. The money bag, along with other valuables, were still inside the home. So the house had been totally ransacked, but there was nothing taken, which immediately led investigators to believe that this was like a staged robbery.
Okay.
And not the real motive behind the killings. I mean, the bank bag full of cash was hanging on the back of a chair and pretty visible to anyone who came in the house.
Right.
Like, it's hanging right there. I guess it's got the bank printed on it. It's pretty obvious it's a bank bag, and it's stuffed full. Probably thousands of dollars in cash.
If you ransack this house, you're probably going to notice the bank bag hanging on the back of a chair.
Well, and if you're going to steal something, you'd probably get that and not, like, silverware. I mean, even if it was silver, like real silver,
well, even
kind of an odd thing to steal.
Yeah, even if you got the silverware too, or were taking everything you could find, but just that and leaving bags of cash behind, that doesn't sound...
It doesn't really make sense.
No.
The investigators knew that more than one person had to commit this murder. The son, Bobby Joe, was young. He was strong, athletic. He had been an Eagle Scout. Pretty solid guy. Bryce and Bobby Joe were held underwater and drowned while still alive, the medical examiner would later say. A strange and puzzling detail is that there was no water on the floor, as I mentioned before. Even after these 2 men were drowned, they were held underwater, drowned, no water was on the floor of the bathroom. Just pause for a moment and consider how weird that is. You got 3 people in this bathtub. There's no real signs of a struggle. I mean, I'm just imagining if somebody was grabbing me, putting my head underwater, I'm going to be flailing around.
Oh, yeah.
With my hand. I mean, there's probably going to be water everywhere.
Adrenaline, everything pumping. Yeah, it's going to be... You think they could clean it up?
I mean, maybe, but there was no signs of, like, any kind of
Why would you take time to clean it up anyway?
Right. Some splotches of blood were found on the shag carpet. I love that it was shag carpet, by the way.
It makes me sneeze thinking about it.
Not very big spots of blood, either. Some
just
little
like
spots.
A little splatter?
And it was believed that maybe Virginia was hit in the face because her nose was bloody. One of the assailants had probably punched her, maybe trying to knock her out or knock her down, And so that blood, they figured out, was probably likely from her bloody nose. Now, an autopsy would show some signs of blunt force trauma to Bryce's head. I guess he had a skull fracture, and then she had signs of a head injury as well, but there were no signs of defense wounds. And you also have to remember, Bryce probably hit in the head. He had the cord around his neck. She died from strangulation as well. So I'm thinking, okay, well, they probably strangled her hit her in the head, strangled her, she died. They hit him in the head. They are strangling him. And he could have been alive, but maybe he was knocked out. Maybe that's why there was no water
that
splash.
Makes sense.
But again, no sign of defense wounds. And you just think these people would be fighting back. If strange attackers, unknown persons broke in your house, essentially a home invasion, you'd probably start fighting back.
Yeah, you never know. They could have used...
unless they had a gun. Who knows?
They could have used their child to make them do things, you know what I mean? Submit.
Right. We
in
don't
ways.
know all of that, but just sort of speculating.
But it does seem that.
It's just, I think it's unusual. And there were no signs of forced entry to the home either. The television was on, food was still on the table, which led investigators to believe that the family was surprised by these attackers. There were no tracks outside the home, and the carpets were not wet from shoes tracking in snow. And they believed, and just gauging from the time frame of what time these people got home, when the phone call happened, this isn't a short period of time.
Yeah, it is.
There would still be, I guess track marks, whatever, in the carpet, wet feet, that stuff probably would still be in the house.
Well, you figure three grown men, and who knows if they tromp in and out more than once. So, yeah, you could expect there's some sign of someone having been in and out. And that's not even enough time hardly for the snow to cover up tracks.
The harsh winds and such could explain maybe the lack of footprints outside the house. Because, it was storming pretty severely. They're describing it as like a blizzard, like just...
Yeah, I guess in 30 minutes it could change, yeah.
Right. So I'm thinking, okay, well, if it's just a fucking downpour, or just a downpour of snow...
Tracks aren't going to last.
They could get filled up, and if the wind's blowing, like, just crazy...
And it sounds like it's up on a bald.
Right.
Like the house is kind of up on the hill. So, yeah, it probably gets some hella wind through there.
But the fact that carpet showed no signs of dirty shoes from the outside is pretty odd. Because in the snow, you'd have wet shoes, and you might even have a little bit of, mud,
Right.
Or dirt from that. 4 men were arrested. They were Caucasians from Asheville, roughly 2 hours away from Boone. So Asheville's about a good 2-hour drive. And these guys were from Asheville. Now, during a burglary investigation, I guess there was some kind of burglary ring, a lot of homes being broken into. One of the men who had been arrested confessed, and they think probably hoping to make some kind of plea deal. He says that he had been present when his friend shot this family in a burglary gone wrong. But later it was revealed that the confessor had actually been in jail the night of the murders.
Okay.
And then, of course, the fact that this family wasn't shot, and none of the details of the story he told matched up to the actual crime scene. I guess there were some things that they didn't quite release to the public that a killer would have known, and he just totally was you could tell was fabricating a story, just to try to get his charges dropped. Yeah,
some of the reasons that people falsely confess to things are very interesting. We'll talk about that one day.
These charges for murder were dropped. Troy and Jenny ended up moving out of town and divorced seemingly just a few years after this incident. A $40,000 reward is even currently being offered on any information leading to an arrest in this case. The murders remain a cold case, and although some evidence has been lost over the years, the police apparently still have that cotton rope, the cord that was found around Bryce's neck, and it just seems to me that maybe modern DNA testing might yield some results or help solve this case.
Maybe.
I know that the police have come out and said they periodically run fingerprints to see if they can match any that were found on the scene, that even though it's a cold case, they are still trying to actively investigate this case. Yeah,
once they work, once they work on it, when they first get the case and, track down all the leads and go through all the steps, investigative steps they know, sometimes it just doesn't go anywhere.
The case probably suffered because it was a small town. The department likely understaffed and under-resourced at the time, and because this was a pretty big murder case,
right,
triple homicide, it was likely they had probably never experienced working a case like this.
Which means the investigators are not seasoned, grizzled,
right? It's kind of like
badass homicide detectives.
It's like a shot in the dark. Hey,
right.
We're going to try to figure this out, but we really don't
They probably have a little, maybe domestic
we're doing
murders,
kind of
or, you know, I'm sure some murders, but, you know, that's a whole different ballgame.
Several theories have surfaced